one of the best coaches right now in the league is Ben Johnson. And this offseason, I was hoping we'd fire Zach Taylor and get Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson was the OC last year for the Lions. And the idea was, okay, he was going to lead the Lions and go get a head coaching job. Now, obviously, the Bears ended up being the best spot for him. There was other spots available too, but he did choose the Chicago Bears in the end. If there was a opportunity for Cincinnati to get him, maybe he would have came here. You know, especially with Joe Burrow at quarterback. He could really take over and take charge of everything. But let's listen up, because Zach Taylor tried to get him, but not for the position that you might think.
Ben Johnson, a former college quarterback, could probably coach offensive line if he wanted to. That was one of the takeaways I had from a conversation with Bengals coach Zach Taylor back, must have been late January, where he said, you know, he's toyed with the idea here at least 20 times of trying to bring Ben in on my staff in Cincinnati as a defensive position coach. He was looking for any way he could to get Ben in the building, because he had such high regard for him as a coach and knew that anything he was tasked with, he would do at a super high level, which that to me is kind of fascinating, because some coaches will just tell you, you know, they know their thing, but I don't know what's going on over there. Zach Taylor felt like Ben could do it all.
If Zach wanted to do what's best for Cincinnati, he would have said, hey, Ben, come be our coach. I'll be the assistant coach. You know, I'll step down and I'll be the assistant coach, and I'm going to let you handle everything. I want this team to win. I want this team to be successful. I will stand down because I know what's best, and you're what's best for this team. If Zach really wanted to do what's best for this team, that's what he would have done. Like, let's not try to beat around the bush here, okay? Second thing, he wanted to make him a defensive positional coach. So he didn't even want to make him like a defensive coordinator, which at the time, right, that's right before he fired Lou Anarumo, late January of last year. Or, sorry, not last year, sorry, this year. Late January of this year. That's when we fired Lou Anarumo. So this was right in a transition between Lou to Al Golden. Obviously, the national championship game at that time didn't happen yet. So why would Ben Johnson go from an OC with the Lions and then go to be the Bengals positional coach? Why would he not just instantly go and become a head coach? It doesn't really make logical sense. If anything, I think that would be more disrespectful of Zach to reach out to Ben Johnson and be like, hey man, I know you had a lot of good success with, you know, the Lions. Do you mind coming and playing for us as a positional coach to help us out? If anything, again, Zach should have just stepped down and said, hey man, it's your job. We think you are the best option for this. And, you know, we're going to do what's best for the team here. And you're what's best for the team with how good of a coach you are. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm crazy, but it just sounds weird. Now, I was toying with the idea of, is this, because he doesn't give a timetable. And he says late January. So, is he saying, like, when Zach first became the coach? Because, like, I don't understand what this is really going into. Because if it is that when he just became a free agent option this offseason, then this is just a stupid idea, right? This is a stupid concept to even offer him a positional coaching job. But if we go back, right? So Ben Johnson, let me pull this up real fast. So this is Ben Johnson's career. So 2009, he was a Boston College graduate. In 2011, Boston College tight ends. Then it says he was an offense assistant in 2012 for Miami Dolphins, where he became that assistant And then he worked his way to a quarterback coach, that's tight end coach, to assistant wide receiver coach, all the way up to a wide receiver coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2018. And then in 2019, he then went ahead and became the quality coach for the Lions and worked his way up to the head coaching job all the way in 2025. So if it's when Zach first became head coach, then that means 2019, which he would then just be leaving the Miami Dolphins, which I guess that could make a lot of sense, right? Because he's leaving the Miami Dolphins. He probably has an ability to go anywhere. And, you know, going from a offensive quality coach to a defensive positional, that's another thing that really just weird to me. Why would he want him for a defensive positional coach? Ben Johnson has never been a guy who's been a defensive guy. He's always been an offensive guy. That's what he gets all his praise for, is he has a great offensive mind. So I don't know why he would want him for a defensive positional coach. Again, so it's like none of this story makes any sense. Like, first off, this isn't Ben Johnson's best ability to be a defensive positional coach. It's not like he's ever played a defensive position. Like, what? And then, again, you know, if this is this January, like he says late January, which would refer to, you know, like this just happened this year, then why would he not just offer him, like, if anything, an offensive coordinator job? But even then, it wouldn't make sense for him to be offensive coordinator job or the defensive coordinator job if he truly believes that he could be that good of a defensive coordinator. Like, and again, summary here, why not just say, hey, I'll step down as a coach, I'll be the assistant coach, and I'll let you take over because you're what's best for this team. And if Zach truly wanted what's best for this team, he would do that. Because even if Zach thinks he's a good coach, he thinks he's a great coach, whatever, you know, it's clear that Ben Johnson's better. So if you really truly want what's best for your team and you know you have a fully guaranteed contract to the end of 2026, you might as well say, hey, listen, I'll be the assistant coach and I'll get paid the same exact money I'm getting paid now, but Ben Johnson will help him, you know, potentially win a Super Bowl, and then Zach could get more money. So, like, this story just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's so many flaws. Let's listen to it again. Try to break this down.
Ben Johnson, a former college quarterback, could probably coach offensive line if he wanted to. That was one of the takeaways I had from a conversation with Bengals coach Zach Taylor back, must have been late January, where he said, you know, he's toyed with the idea here at least 20 times of trying to bring Ben in on my staff in Cincinnati as a defensive position coach. He was looking for any way he could to get Ben in the building because he had such high regard for him as a coach and knew that anything he was tasked with, he would do at a super high level, which that to me is kind of fascinating because some coaches will just tell you.
Unless Zach truly did not want to give up being the head coach, right? But also did not want to give up being the offensive coordinator. Because we do know that Zach loves being the offensive coordinator, and he does not want to give up being the offensive coordinator. No, you know, hell and high waters, Zach Taylor will not give up the offensive coordinator job. So maybe that's part of it, that he just did not want to give up the OC job. So he said, hey, you know, I'll let you be this other position. But again, it's just weird because why not just let him be defense coordinator then? I mean, if you truly believe in his defensive mindset, I don't know. This whole situation is so buggy, I guess. But hey, I mean, I guess that's a cool thing, you know? Like, we would have potentially had a really good defensive coordinator with an amazing offensive mindset who's never really done anything defensively, who was a quarterback in college. Hey, whatever, man. Whatever. Peace out.